Hey, what's going on, Ramley? Welcome to the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sports. This is your destination for Rams news. Joining me as always, Mr. Skinny T back in the house. Been a couple days. Ryan had family visiting. Obviously, preseason came to an end. I did a little roster episode breaking that down, but now we can finally jump back on here because it is game week. The Rams play the Houston Texans in real, meaningful football. Matthew Stafford is supposed to play. We'll talk about that. Alaric Jackson is supposed to play. We'll talk about that. New uniforms are out. We'll talk about that. So a lot of stuff to get to as we kind of begin our new Rams Skinny schedule, 4 days a week right here on the Rams LAFB YouTube channel and always on LAFBnetwork.com. But first and foremost, Mr. Skinny T, how we doing, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, it was a bummer to miss out on that 53-man because I had some padding of my own back to do. Yeah. I felt like we nailed that pretty close. We'll talk about some of the ones we missed out on, but yeah, fun times with family. They like to eat, so I got to show them around some of the best East Side eateries. If you've never been to Bub and Grandma's down in Glassell Park or Din Tai Fung.
Oh
man,
which Din Tai Fung did you go to?
Glendale I guess not at the Americana anymore. At the Galleria.
Yeah,
but
I know.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Yeah,
the same thing. We always go to the one in the Arcadia Mall, which is just a zoo always. But yeah, Din Tai Fung, fantastic. Mama Lou's is another good dumpling place. If you ever been to Mama Lou's, a little more.
I've never been.
Yeah, not as. I don't know if I'd say Din Tai Fung is high end, but it's a little more, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's
classy. Doesn't sound nice to say, but Mama Lou's a little more robust, I guess, a little more hustle and bustle. But both good. So, well, great. But yeah, folks had a good time. I mean, you're living a great spot for foodies.
Yeah. Well, and then we also watched the Nebraska Cornhusker game, which they pulled out the win with that. So that was a great time. Dressed all in red, and I had a cheesy corn. A corny cheese on my head, a cheesy corn hat thing going on.
Yeah, basically like an elote on your head.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Looking
good. That shirt, though, you got to wear that shirt in the show sometime.
I will.
What did it say again?
We'll save that.
Okay.
Because it's
fair
so
enough.
bad.
So corny. So corny. You also caught a Dodger game. That was good.
Oh
right?
yeah. Shohei Ohtani pitching. He didn't hit a home run, but he
put in.
He started a good rally for the team and ended up pulling out the win. Also got Shohei Ohtani bobbleheads that day. Had a guy come up to me as I went through the gate, offered me $40 cash for one of them. I'm going to hang on to him though.
Oh, I didn't know you got the bobblehead. You got it.
Two. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's got to go in the office. Save one for the LAFB studio soon.
Oh, absolutely.
That's great. I got a Julio Urias one, which is worth nothing now. Got a Teoscar Hernandez. I got a Justin. Who did I got right here? Jason Hayward, like random one, but yeah, still got a bunch all in the boxes all over. So,
and I have to say, you and we've read about this influx of Japanese people coming to visit Dodger Stadium to see Shohei or Yoshinobu or, that new soccer player whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, with LAFC. Yeah,
but I was stunned. It was incredible. Everybody around me had their phones out, typing in Japanese. So they were from Japan or Japanese speakers at least. So
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Pretty incredible.
Pretty awesome. Even Dodger Stadium now has like Japanese fusion food in the stadium, which is pretty cool.
All the signage has Japanese characters on it. So it's incredible.
It's great. I mean, LA. That's why I love LA. What a melting pot.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, well, good. And apologize to everyone. As you can tell, I've been battling a cold for over a week. So if I hack up a lung here and there, bear with me. Quickly, as you guys can see, little new look. We have a title sponsor for the entire football season, Ecstatic Sleeper. I'm sure most of you have heard of Sleeper, but if you have not, they're a great app or brand, I guess, you should get with. It's the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on games in real times with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast news, and alerts right at your fingertips You can also play fantasy sports leagues, which is what I'm going to use it for, and we're going to be talking about here. Win real money on picks contests. So similar to those of you that have heard of maybe Underdog or Prize Picks, Sleeper also offers that kind of pick'em style game as well. So you can enjoy sports the way they're meant to be, which is together. Download the #1 sports app today. You can see the Sleeper app logo right here on the screen, which will allow you to do that. If you use the promo code Rams LAFB, when you sign up, you'll get a $100 match on your first deposit. Obviously, terms and conditions apply. Sleepers, terms and conditions for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. So probably wherever you are, definitely here in California, you are allowed to use, which is fantastic. So make sure to go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, download Sleeper today. Use that promo code Rams LAFB. Get yourself up to a $100 match bonus on your first deposit. Tons of fun. We use it for all of our fantasy sports. So, year-long leagues, daily fantasy, or like I mentioned, the pick'em, where you're basically picking kind of over-unders in a way, score more touchdowns, more yards. You can pick different players and kind of combine those to win real money. So once again, just don't forget to use promo code Rams LAFB for an up to $100 deposit match. All right, Skinny. So Rams season kicking off. What do you want to start with? Should we talk uniforms first, or should we backtrack a little bit since we haven't really talked much about the roster, you and I?
Let's talk the real news. Let's talk Stafford and Alaric Jackson.
Okay.
Injury report. Yeah. I mean, it's short and sweet. Stafford's expected to play. Yep. I don't think that was a doubt for you or I, that he'd probably make it to week 1. Making it past week 1, I think, is where we kind of settled on our big concern, especially heading into this game. We'll do a more full blown preview for that game, but Houston's defense is good and getting better. Added CJ Gardner-Johnson. He's expected to play in week 1 as well. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. Coming after him. With that offensive line, which has questions around it. And Sean McVay seems he's hopeful. He expects Alaric Jackson to be the starting left tackle week 1, but that one seems like still a bit more up in the air. Any thoughts on those two injuries or lack thereof?
Yeah, I mean, Stafford, I think, like we said, is not a real surprise. That was the plan. They felt real confident about that. Our big concern all along was how is he going to react when he does start getting hit. So we'll see how that game goes. But I think since he's been back to practice at full, everything's been responding well and how they anticipate and how they want. And he's had, no limitations and has been throwing the ball well. So that is obviously great. Would love seeing that and hearing that. The Jackson one is more interesting. Like I've said before, what's he going to look like without having really much contact before? You're going to throw a guy in who plays in the trenches where you're literally getting hit every single play and going into week 1 with very limited actual physical action, and then asked to go up against guys like Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and others like you mentioned. So I'm a little more skeptical that he actually will play. I'm even more skeptical that if he does play, how good he'll be, which is obviously extremely important, especially since he's the one protecting Matthew Stafford's back, his blind side. So it'll be interesting to see the coaching staff deciding if they think him with limited reps is still the better option over someone like a DJ Humphries, who has been available all of training camp and has those, physical reps, kind of how they decipher that. So yeah. I'm skeptical on it. Obviously, Alaric Jackson is the best man for the future at this position. It's the reason why they signed him to a 3-year extension. We know how good he can be. I'd be curious to see if he's ready yet for full game speed, because practice reps are very different than game speed reps. And if you have even limited practice reps, then those game speed reps are going to feel real fast. So that would be my only concern on that.
Yeah, Sean McVay said as much, that you can't simulate playing football at all. You have to be playing. You got to be in the games. You got to be in the practices. And to my knowledge, he hasn't taken full speed, even in practice.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Or whatever whatever speed they play at in practice. I don't think he's met that bar yet. So that leads to the skepticism. And one of the things I think will reveal, either whether he's in or not, is kind of Blake Corum's position on this team. As I mentioned a lot before, Kyren Williams, the better pass blocker for Stafford last year. Has Blake Corum taken that next step to where he can fill in that role? Or is Jarquez Hunter, as you and I saw, a bit more chops, as a bigger back and probably just better in pass protection period across the board. So that'll be kind of an interesting thing, a little nugget to kind of keep your eye on in terms of the protection for Stafford, is if, how do the backs play into that? Also, how does Colby Parkinson play into that? And does that mean a guy like Terrence Ferguson gets fewer reps because they got to have Colby Parkinson out there? They got to have Tyler Higbee out there. So, some kind of, down the road things to kind of keep an eye on, and just in terms of protection, because that's the biggest thing heading into this season. All these rankings that have been coming out, all these quarterback rankings, power rankings, and whatnot. Nobody really knows what to do until we see, Stafford in pads, Alaric Jackson, or whoever, and this offensive line, who was suspect at times last year. Does it all come together?
Yeah, 100%. And and then they'll have some time to work that out. Obviously, it's a long season, luckily, and so you'd like to be able to ramp things up early on, but if they have to kind of roll with the punches in the beginning of the season, they'll survive. So, and we'll obviously have more clarity Wednesday when the injury report comes out, Thursday when that injury report, and we have more from practice. So kind of know what this team will look like. Obviously, we'll preview this game leading up later in the week. So, but those are your updates. There any other quick injury or updates you wanted to touch on?
No, those were the big ones. I don't think I think everybody else was at practice. Well, everybody, they had a clean slate. Everybody was at practice participating. So they should head into this game looking good with those two big question marks, of course.
Yeah. Two very important ones, but hey, great to see. So great to see. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited to see this offense, how it's going to look. Obviously excited to see the defensive line get to really, we haven't seen any starters, but really see them pin their ears back and see how they can get after CJ Stroud and that offensive line. So it'll be fun to preview that as we get closer there. So, all right. You want to talk uniforms? We don't really talk uniforms that often, but
no,
the new rivalries uniforms release. I'll put up a picture maybe on the screen during my production when I'm editing. So I'll throw that up for everyone to see. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but your thoughts. The midnight, it's not a black, it's like a dark navy blue with still some of the blue and yellow accents of the regular color scheme. I think it's been met with very mixed reviews. Some people actually really love it and some absolutely hate it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's nothing offensive about these uniforms. I think that's where I come down on. I think the helmets are probably the best part. I kind of dig that look. Is it a wow factor for me? is it what I wanted? No. Does it scream LA? No. I think this, the creative team, they really try to shoot down the middle. Even their current uniforms, I would put them in kind of like corporate-y look almost. So I'm unimpressed, and they have this slogan, "Work in the dark, earn the spotlight," which I think is really cheesy as well.
Yeah,
that's beside the point. It's not going to be. I would love to see something bolder. A bigger steps, take some risks, have some fun with it. The home uniforms, the standards really scream LA. This one deviates from that a little bit, but not in a way that says anything in particular. So, I don't think they're ugly. I don't think they're the yellow color rush Big Bird uniforms, but nothing exciting.
Yeah, I'm trying to, here we go, pull it up. So then I think everyone can see that now. Yeah, I think they're fun, right? They're fun. That's kind of where I'm at with them. What's interesting is when they come up with these, and this isn't the Rams necessarily, because this is obviously the rivals kind of concept. But when they come up with these concepts, like, I just don't know how this fits within that concept or whatever. Right?
What is, do you know their like mission statement or whatever for these uniforms?
I thought it was supposed to be something of like kind of represents the city in a way to kind of show off, your pride for city against your, like, your rivals. So whether that's San Francisco or whoever, it's not like necessarily you're supposed to blend with that. I guess I just don't really see how this like embodies LA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I think was it Arizona's uniform? And they did kind of like a deserty theme, like a deserty. And there's for once, like the Cardinals, I feel like never release anything that's like a winner. And I feel like their rivals uniform, I was like, I kind of dig it, because it was like kind of a deserty theme, which makes sense.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and the Buffalo one's all iced out, all white with kind of a steel blue kind of feel. Yeah. I mean, lean into the Rams a little bit more. Lean into like, the hip hop culture of LA, lowriders. Last year's schedule release video had some really good inspiration they probably could have taken for the uniforms, I think.
Yeah. So what would you, if that is the true theme, and forgive me if anyone's listening, I'm not, me and Ryan aren't like, I know some of the other content creators are like big uniform buffs, and we're not like as into it as others, so I apologize, but I think that's right from what I understood. Is supposed to somehow embody the fan base in LA. But let's just say that is for sure what it is. Like, how would you, like, what would your kind of design? Obviously, I don't even know if you've thought about this, but just on the cuff, if you're like, hey, this is like a design I think would look and embody LA. Because you get, obviously, LA, what's hard about LA is it's such a diverse city, not just in the people that live here, but just in the topography of the actual city, right? Like, the beach is what everyone thinks of. Hollywood, though, is even very different than the beach. It's like in the hills of like the mountains almost. And then you also have like East LA, which is on the, the doorstep of the desert. So it's like, it's just such a different city. So like, what would you do to try to embody that?
Well, when I was a kid, I mean, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, all those guys were LA.
Yeah.
And you think about like the lowrider culture, Old English print, some of the tattoo culture, Mr. Cartoon. There's a lot of stuff there. I mean, plenty to pick from there. Great Latino culture here in the area as well. Pull from that. I don't know how you would necessarily implement that visually. The Old English may be the way to go with just a big LA on the side.
Yeah.
And we joke about it a lot in terms of fan bases. Raiders, that has stuck in large part because how, this kind of rebel outlaw thing connects with the fan base here in LA. Mm-hmm. I have a neighbor. He's like, yeah, I don't even really like the Raiders. I just dig all their gear. Yeah. And obviously you can't just rip off the Raiders. But going in and, in the dark blue kind of lends it to themselves, but they could go away from the yellow entirely and just go, blue or black and white. You think about other leagues, or the Clippers have like gone through like several color changes, like you can mix it up in a way that the fan base will really glom onto, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and I think this uniform in general, like they could have done that. Like you see the other, like the Seahawks, but not saying I like the Seahawks, but they look like Jets uniforms almost, like with the color scheme they did, like going into the Emerald, really with the Emerald City. And I mentioned the Cardinals having like a very different, so they didn't have to kind of stick with their soul, and obviously it's a different shade of blue, but they could have done a completely different color scheme to your point. I think I would have done like two things. I either would have really leaned into like the beach vibe. Obviously the redesign of the logo in general, obviously tried that with like kind of the wave with I know it's a ram's horn, but they kind of played on like it being a wave as well with the LA. So I think you could have leaned, and not saying like have like palm trees on the jerseys, but in a way you could have somehow incorporated kind of the palm tree, Venice Beach, kind of that vibe, which obviously would have been a completely different color scheme than this midnight look. Or I would have done like basically a Dodgers jersey. Like I would have just gone straight, go after the Dodgers. Cause yeah, like you said, like something about the Raiders, but you can't like, it'd be too obvious if they did like silver and black. Like it'd be like, oh, you just tried to copy the Raiders during their era. But the Dodgers obviously are connected with LA and with the Rams too. I mean, you know, those are two very big Los Angeles sports teams. So why not kind of try to embody the LA Dodger blue with the horns and just the white. We've seen those kind of mock-ups of just the blue and white jerseys before anyway. They obviously had that back in the day when they were in LA and whatever it was, the 40s, 50s, 60s. So I would have probably leaned into those two things if I was the design team.
Yeah, I'm thinking LA on the side of the helmet, reminiscent of the Dodgers logo on the front.
Like how cool would that be?
That and go black and white with like all white with just black accents.
Yeah, it'd be sweet. I mean, you do the interlocked LA on the helmet.
Yeah,
why not?
That's NWA ish. I mean, NWA always wore Kings, Raiders, all black and white, black and silver.
Yeah. Well, and that's the way, one, of course, Ice Cube obviously performed at the World Series. Dodgers, so he's a big Dodgers guy. But if you did want to try to do like a silver and black kind of thing, obviously you could say you were doing it after the Kings, not the Raiders, because the LA Kings are silver and black. Obviously the Lakers, but like purple, you don't want purple on your uniform. That would be, but they have the gold. If you do like some purple accents, maybe like they should have leaned into the teams that are here that people love instead of this midnight. That's just me.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So, yeah. But I don't hate them. Like you said, I think they're fun in their own way. I just don't see how they represent the city, but they're fun.
It is nice to have something new.
Yeah, of course. So,
and they will be debuted against the Seahawks on the 16th of November. So it's going to be a
little while. But yeah, let us know what you guys think in the comments. People get fired up, Skinny, about uniforms. They get revved up. Oh yeah. All right. Well, before we move on to any final topics, quickly, if anyone out there is ever looking to hire, we have used this before, ZipRecruiter. I'm sure you've all heard of it by now. But if you're ever looking for the right candidates, ZipRecruiter is absolutely the best place to go. You can use ZipRecruiter and save time hiring. 4 to 5 employees who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ZipRecruiter.com/audio, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/audio and try it for free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. All right, Skinny, any I guess final kind of thought before we wrap this up before tomorrow's practice when we'll have a little more news to come out?
Well, did you want to talk about the 53-man cut down at all, or were there any other thoughts you wanted to bounce off me?
Yeah, let's touch on it. Since me and you didn't actually talk, I did kind of a breakdown of my thoughts, but just mainly your thoughts, and then you can add anything else, but your thoughts on the whole Chris Paul thing, the fact that obviously they, waived him, and then when he cleared waivers, still didn't bring him back. So clearly they were just ready to move on. He obviously now signs with the Seattle Seahawks. So if he gets onto their active roster, we'll see a nice pairing of Chris Paul and Ernest Jones, 2 former Rams. So your thoughts on that? Well, let's just start with that, and then I'll go to Willie Lampkin because I want to get your thoughts. But just your thoughts on Chris Paul.
Yeah, Darian Kendrick also picked up by the Seahawks as well.
Yeah. Seattle Rams.
Yeah. Okay, so I think the big controversy, which is we don't see this a lot in the Rams world, is draft picks getting cut. Rarely see that. It's been quite a while. pretty high draft pick used on that guy too. And so, you look around the rest of the league, it's actually not that uncommon that draft picks get cut.
I think the Chargers cut 2, I think, draft picks.
Yeah. Yeah. It wasn't a big draft class. So, 1 of 6, I believe, is, what they ended up cutting. But so it's not that unusual around the league. We just don't see it a lot with this team in particular. And then, one of the things we had a big question mark over Chris Paul was his size. Now, when you're talking to Sean McVay about how he's cutting down the roster and what his thought process is, those last, handful of positions, which, inside linebackers are just, kind of the last thought when they're putting together the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Sean McVay's thinking about special teams. And I think probably what happened is, you can be 6'1", 200 pounds and play special teams, but it's better to be a bit bigger, if you're running down the field. And I think Sean Dolak just busted his butt the whole time. Yeah. That's what we saw. He was competing and really working towards everything. And obviously, they made this call to give up a draft pick and take on a undrafted guy again. And hopefully we're not at the position where, they're having to start, because that means the starters have lost their jobs or gotten hurt or anything like that. So, I had one more thought on it, but it's escaping me at the moment. But kind of a surprise, just because you don't see it a lot. I haven't gone through and looked to see exactly the last time, but I was reminded of the Hard Knocks season where they had brought in that guy who just didn't swear. He kept saying like, "Oh golly, oh yeah, gosh, darn it," and they cut him. But he was like a 6th or 7th rounder. That might have been the last time they cut a draft pick. I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to take a peek.
That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, I think what was surprising is, that they, even when he cleared waivers, they didn't bring him back to the practice squad. So clearly, either something happened, which I'd never like to speculate on that, but something where the two sides did not get along from either a philosophical standpoint or from a leadership standpoint or wherever. I haven't heard anything of that, so I don't like to speculate. Or like you said, they just really did not see a need for his style of play with who they had. And obviously Sean Dolak certainly changed that. But again, they have 4 on the roster. You want to have some backers on your practice squad. So it's just surprising that they decided not to do that. So unless the only other side of that is kind of them, as I think as an organization, obviously you want to have the upper hand, but when it's not going to be a starter anyway, maybe they thought, this is a guy we see as the 5th best linebacker on our team. He's not going to play. Like, we can bring him out on the practice squad, and that's great, and that'll help us in practice. But let's give the player a chance to go compete somewhere else, and we'll do right by him that he can maybe go win a job somewhere. So maybe it was that where they just were doing right by him and giving him an opportunity. Now, obviously, it sucks that he ends up in division, and if he ends up getting that opportunity and he can do it against the Rams, then you're not going to play nice anymore. So I have no idea if that's the case, but that was just surprising that it's one thing to release a guy. It's another then to be like, we still don't want you on our practice squad, especially when after they drafted him, they were talking like he was the future at linebacker. But as we've learned with the Rams, Skinny, like whatever they say, you just take it face value. They were calling Ernest Jones the next Hall of Famer and the future face of the franchise, and they traded him 2 weeks later. So same thing with Todd Gurley and what. So I think we've all learned, and fans maybe some haven't still, but most have. Like whatever they say, just take it face value, because it's usually not always going to be the case, and that obviously was the case with Paul. And then in terms of Willie Lampkin, so this, and I'm sure you've read all about this, and I think you even wrote a story about it. So kind of the thing, but there's this unwritten rule kind of in the NFL that if one of these young guys, especially like an undrafted guy, is injured, that teams will release them. No one else will pick them up, so that doesn't force the team to put them on on the injured list and take up a spot. They can just then bring them back on the practice squad. And it's kind of this unwritten rule. So the Rams, by all accounts that we know, do that release him with probably the intention to bring him back. Well, Philly says, screw that. And Philly goes and picks him up. And then they've immediately put him on the injured list, on their injured list. So the whole kind of storyline is, wow, Philly really broke code here. But obviously, when you're out to win Super Bowls, like, you don't really care. And they've gone to 2 in the last 3 years. Obviously, they know what they're doing. What's your thoughts on that? Like, did the Rams screw themselves instead of just like not thought everyone was going to play nice with them? Like, what was your thoughts on that whole thing?
I think they shot themselves in the foot. I really did. Yep. I think that was not a smart move at all. I mean, everybody was praising him. And listen, at the end of the day, this is about winning. I don't think anybody knows that better than Howie Roseman, and he's not going to pass. He's not going to pass up an opportunity, especially in his favorite positions, the trenches, where he's been drafting and adding players, and replaced a future Hall of Famer, Jason Kelce, at center last year. He's got his eye on these guys for a reason, and it's telling. It's telling, and he and Les may have to have a little sidebar at the next owners meeting or something like that. But
he probably just laughed.
All's fair. Yeah,
probably just like, they're going to release this guy. Really, they're not going to put him on the injured list, like, after all he's shown and done. And I agree. Like, an unwritten rule is an unwritten rule. It doesn't mean when everyone's going to follow it, and you can't bank on. And it's a competitive league. These are grown men making millions of dollars. GMs making millions of dollars who have to make these decisions. But I agree. I think that was just, to be harsh, it was just an idiotic move.
Yeah.
Point blank. So, I mean, again, the Chris Paul, we don't know for sure, but if it was one of those, like, let's do right by him and be nice and let him go somewhere else, he goes to a division rival. Willie Lampkin, it's like, okay, unwritten rule, we'll just release him. We'll get him back because no one takes injured players. Well, he gets snatched up. Like, they bit themselves in the foot twice. Now, they could have had completely different thinking, and this could all be moot, and they'll obviously say a different story. But on the surface, both don't look great in my eyes. Willie Lampkin, for sure. The Paul I can live with because they have a deep room, and they obviously love who they have, and fans don't like Troy Reader. The Rams obviously love him, so it is what it is. But the whole Willie Lampkin thing, especially at a position, Skinny, where Coleman Shelton is obviously your starter, but he's not like the future starter. He's not came back. Did he get a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal?
I don't recall.
It's no more than that. So, I mean, he's not like your center of the future. And then after him, you have the combination of either Bo Limmer or Jared Didich. Like, I'm not saying Willie Lampkin was going to be the future, but he showed enough promise to where, like, hey, here's a guy that can push and compete. Like, don't just let him go for no reason. Like, you developed him all summer long. Get some of that, get some of that reward for putting in all the work.
And with the offensive line coach like Ryan Wendell, I mean, you keep him in the room.
Yeah.
He's going to coach him up for sure, and he could be the future for sure. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he's one of those guys that's proven doubters wrong everywhere he's gone. So I would not be shocked at all to see him starting in Philly in 2 years. Wouldn't be shocked at all.
That would be a slap in the face for sure. I think my only other shock from cut downs is looking pretty lean in the secondary at a position which I was already skeptical of where you got Cam Kinchins, Cam Curl, and Jalen McCullough playing safety. Obviously, Quentin Lake still on the team, can play safety. But we got nine defensive backs right now that they're rolling into the league with, or into the year with. And no draft picks, no UDFAs this year. Cut Darian Kendrick. And none of these guys are under contract except for Darius Williams, I think. And Jalen McCullough probably. I don't know exactly how that works. Anyway, there's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
because Curl's on the second year of his deal, and it was a group that got banged up last year.
Akella Witherspoon's gonna miss time. He's not playing 17 games. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes probably not playing 17 games.
Well, I mean, I doubt it, but they really like that guy. I mean,
they do.
I don't. That's one of those positions I don't feel like they have a great grasp on understanding or I mean, they haven't drafted a high pick in quarterback for a long time. So
they haven't taken
it's hard to say.
Beyond a third round pick, I think, in the McVay era, right? Third round was the highest, and it's only happened like once.
Sounds right.
It was like Robert Rochelle, who was like a developmental pick.
I forgot about that guy.
Yeah. No, I mean, I have so much respect for Aubrey Pleasant, who's obviously the secondary coach, but it is an interesting how they construct the roster from that vantage point. And obviously it was different a few years ago when you had a Jalen Ramsey, who then you just kind of like throw some guys with him and, you feel good. I think this secondary can be solid this year. But I just find it interesting for those out there that, and I do think this defense can be, we're prefacing this, that I think this is going to be a good Rams team. And I think this defense has a chance to be a solid team, but until we see it unfold on paper, like I'm not sitting here like, yeah, this secondary is going to just like shut down passing games. Like I don't see that.
Last year is pretty much the same construction, and the pass rush was doing its thing, and they'll probably take a step forward. But what we saw last year is, when a team was able to get an explosive throw out of the backfield, it really hurt this team. It nearly cost them some games. It did cost them some other games. That's for sure. So, but you gotta pick and choose, and they're choosing an inexpensive defense right now.
Yeah. Yep. That they are. So, we'll see. I mean, I like the guys they do have. Obviously you got to stay healthy, knock on wood. So we'll see how that comes together, but, yeah, how they develop some of those kind of younger, lesser known guys. And then, like you said, like this is another day, but next year there's no one on contract. So this could be even a completely different group next year, which we'll get to when we get closer to that. So, but anyway, so we'll be back tomorrow with more news. Anything before we wrap the show up today?
I want to say, Micah Parsons got traded. Joe Burrow could get traded. I got to throw that out there. I'm starting to see it out there in the wild. So I gotta plant my flag as one of the first people to say, hey, let's start making some phone calls about Joe Burrow. Like, let's find out how happy he is over there with his defensive construction and the way that organization treats him. I don't know. Man. Maybe he wants out. Micah Parsons got traded for 2 firsts and a Kenny Clark.
Yeah. You think there's a world that since you would trade Burrow?
I don't know if it matches up exactly with the timeline. But like, could you imagine like just watching like Trey Hendrickson, let's say, gets traded, they got no secondary and they don't have a linebacker. They've kept, Jamar Chase, is there, that offensive line, it's just like,
yeah. What's hard about their situation is that, and this is going to sound callous, and don't get me wrong, like if somehow the Rams get it done, I think Joe Burrow's top 2 quarterback in the NFL. I finally got done watching Quarterback on Netflix the season he was on, and yeah, it was great. And obviously his coach, who's former Ram, was like, yeah, he's the best quarterback in football. I would never trade him for anything, but it's not up to him, obviously. But as much as I love him, like his situation, which obviously the GM is the one that makes the actual call, but like he's the one that demanded them to re-sign T. Higgins to that $30 million deal. Like they already had Jamar Chase, $30 million. So he has 2 receivers, both making roughly $60 million with his $50 million. So 3 offensive weapons are making $110 million, which is what, 50% of the cap almost. So, I mean, it's like, it's his own fault that he has no defense. Cause it's like, what do you expect? Like no competitive Super Bowl winning team has 2 wide receiver 1s in terms of pay scale. Like we've talked about it many times, Skinny, right? Like you got to have a wide receiver 1 and you got to have a Robin. Like there's no mathematical way to have a franchise quarterback already on their second deal, not on a rookie deal, and 2 alphas at receiver in terms of contract. You just can't do it. That's why the Rams got rid of Cooper Kupp. It's just feasible. It's just not feasible. Well, the Bengals have done that. So it's like, how else are they going to do? They can't do anything else. And then they did give in to Hendrickson at least for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably going to be a 9-win team again.
And that's all fair. And the thing is, I'll say that, Max Crosby wanted Antonio Pierce. He was like, I want out of this team if we don't hire Antonio Pierce with the Raiders. No, he got fired. Players are not GMs for a reason. GMs are GMs for reasons. And would I like this Bengals team better if they had more defensive pieces and not T. Higgins? Definitely. Yeah. You can where they're going to draft in the 20s. You can find quality receivers in the 20s in the second round. I mean, you can't necessarily find a second pass rusher in the second round. So
it's that when that happened, and then we'll end with this. I know this isn't even the Rams talk, but like Jamar Chase, no brainer. He's the best receiver in football. Like, yes, pay him what you need your wide receiver one. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase should be together for their entire careers, retire together, both go to the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Bengal fans hopefully that happens in Cincy. But once T. Higgins, and no disrespect to him, he's a good receiver, but once he started demanding that, and then Burrow was like, yeah, I need my guy. Like, we need this. It's like there are plenty of other receivers that can do what T. Higgins does. It doesn't mean he's not good, but
he's very good, yeah.
I mean, he's not $30 million good on top of another receiver who's making $30 million.
Yeah, totally replaceable.
So that's just like, that was mind blowing when they did it. When they did that, I was like, okay, well, there's your death kiss. Like, I mean, hey, I'll eat my words if the Bengals end up going deep, but we saw last year, Joe Burrow should have, in my opinion, probably won MVP. He had 38 touchdowns, 4,000 plus yards. They scored like 32 points per game. And they finished 9-8 and missed the playoffs. Like, they had no freaking defense. They lost games 44-38, like every week.
Hey, if you guys know any Cincinnati Bengals fans, let them know. You got a good, warm team over here. Come start watching the Rams skinny.
Yeah, exactly. We'll once Stafford hangs it up, we'll trade. We'll give you 4 first-round picks for Joe Burrow. F them picks. We don't care. It's great. Cheaper for us anyway. Those first-round picks cost a lot. So get Burrow over here with Puka. Solid.
Jamar Chase comes on over with him.
Yeah. All right, let's end it with that. So great stuff, Skinny. This is the Rams Skinny. Thank you as always, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll say it again. Season schedule. We're going to be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going live at 3 or 4. Did we say 4 or 3?
I think 4.
Going back and forth. I think we're going to try 4 p.m. on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Going live every week, doing our preview show. And then we'll be live Sundays or whenever the games are, post-game, almost immediately after the games. Some weeks will be me and Skinny. Some weeks will be Skinny and Brittany Betts. All you guys know her well. Some days will be Skinny and Paula, or P on Twitter. Great Ram fan. We might have the Tuna back on. We'll have a nice rotating guest in these post-game reactions. But you always see the great Skinny T. So you'll get your daily dose of Skinny as you need. So make sure those 4 days, plus maybe some more sprinkled in. We're excited for our Rams coverage. And obviously all of our Rams coverage is on LAFBnetwork.com. If you have not already, please hit that like and subscribe button. Big shout out to Sleeper. Once again, $100 deposit match bonus. If you go to Sleeper, download the app, sign up, and use the promo code RAMS, LAFB, all one word. Thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time. See you then.